questions about the teacher who was reportedly fired for having a group of girls take down his braids in class. We're watching this video and we're asking, are his intentions pure and is this too intimate? But those are the wrong questions to ask because we can only answer them after somebody's been harmed. The questions we need to be asking are, what is being normalized by this interaction? And what feelings might this interaction be causing in a child? As a youth development professional, your intentions are irrelevant when you realize your job is to model behavior that can and should be replicated by other people in your position. So what is being normalized by this interaction is being live streamed. Physical touch and proximity. And it's being normalized not only for the young people, but for everybody watching. And that's important. At best, this interaction creates a foundation for something called transference. Transference is when feelings and desires get projected from one person to another based on past relationships and unmet needs. Transference can create feelings for a kid that are inappropriate and unproductive for a teacher-student relationship. So a young person who has unmet needs for affection, attention, and validation might project feelings of admiration onto an adult who just introduced physical touch into their relationship. That, in and of itself, makes a young person more vulnerable to harm when those inappropriate expectations aren't met. If those inappropriate expectations are met, or if they take those same boundaries into relationships with other adults. Inviting physical touch into a teacher-student relationship creates fertile ground for grooming. That's the process a predator uses to build trust and emotional connection with a young person they intend to manipulate, exploit, or harm. They might use attention, affection, guidance, and special treatment to fill an emotional need from a kid's life. Then they'll desensitize a young person to physical touch and sexual topics, starting small and building up. All the while, they're testing their boundaries to see how far they can push before a young person resists or someone speaks up. The entire time, there's plausible deniability. The point is to slowly push the boundaries and make everybody involved question whether or not their suspicions are warranted. The kid, the parents, the people around the kid. So if something doesn't feel right, but you just can't put your finger on why, or it doesn't seem like a big deal. If it seems like a gray area, but just not big enough to speak up about, that's the point. Making people question their own instincts means the victim and the audience are groomed or prepared for the next step. So how can you tell the difference between someone who's unknowingly creating the conditions where transference might occur and someone who is grooming a young person and the people around them for abuse? You can't. If you could, kids will be a lot safer. There are people who will say that this sort of interaction is necessary to build culturally responsive relationships in school.
But not. And I feel like we've lost decorum. It's not about respectability, politics. It's about boundaries that we should have. To this day, I have 40-plus-year-old students who call me professor. I don't allow them to call me Karen. I just don't, because I will forever never be their friend. I will never be their peer. I'm always going to be their professor. And I think that lines should be drawn in how we comport ourselves, especially in that kind of a professional environment. Kwame Alexander's here, author of 35 plus books, publisher extraordinaire. His latest book is This Is the Honey. It's an anthology of contemporary Black poets edited by him, and Why Fathers Cry at Night. Beautiful, beautiful book. Beautiful book. Thanks for being here. Hi.
Thank you. And wow, that clip, that circles back to what we were saying about those books that were published in the 90s. That's a scene straight out of a Carl Weber novel. No disrespect to Carl Weber, who I love. That's a scene out of a Terry Woods novel. That's unreal. That's unreal. That I can't even fathom that would be a thing on a teacher's mind. Teachers are about the work, about sacred work. They're about helping young people begin to imagine a better world. I think that whoever was on that clip, they nailed it.
Yeah.
That's
another teacher.
That's unacceptable. I have two daughters, and I remember, going to Philippa Schuyler School for the Gifted and Talented, as a seventh grader. I want to say PS 363. And I remember my teacher, my history teacher, doing something very similar to me and another student. And I remember going home and telling my parents, not thinking too much about it, but just saying it was kind of odd what he did. And I remember the next day I was in another class. Like that kind of behavior, and the teacher was fired. That kind of behavior is unacceptable.
Because it puts undue pressure, because even if a child feels some way, they may like that teacher. Right. But now you've put them in a position to have to navigate something they should not even be considering.
And they can't. Like you said, they're already sort of afraid, necessarily to speak up, to say things, to snitch. Snitches get stitches, to to sort of, say something that would what they think other people in the classroom or in the school might find to be embarrassing to them. They already feel a certain kind of way about it. And so it's just unfair. It's just unfair. But you're saying he got fired?
Well, they said he was reassigned out of the classroom. So not technically fired, but also not in the classroom. He was a teacher at the Maya Angelou French Immersion School in Hillcrest Heights, Maryland. He constantly had them kids on TikTok. He has 770,000 followers on TikTok, so he's pretty popular and would engage. And he sent a permission slip home to the parents. But I'm sure even if the parents, so sometimes parents aren't even, to me, equipped sometimes to be able to, it may seem affable and nice, but why even have this relationship? There should be a boundary around how we interact with these young people, period.
Yeah. And of course, you're going to have more people do things like this because, again, this is why I don't even want to talk about it.
Okay. All right.
They see us talking about it.
Right.
And that it gets the kind of buzz and play that they want. That's why they're doing this nonsense.
How sickening that we live in such a world where popularity is more important than being appropriate. But let's go to Vevelin in Durham, North Carolina. Kwame Alexander is here. You're on the Karen Hunter Show. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Y'all are very opinionated. I've listened to that. I guess I probably didn't hear enough of it. My opinion was just a little bit different. I'm not sure that exactly how this situation came about, but would it have been different if the teacher had been a woman? Would it have been a different?
No, not for me. Not for me. Not for me. I don't think it matters. I don't think children should be, first of all, taking people's braids out and then filming it. Again, it looked very service-ish. Those children are there to learn, not to serve you. You're not their king or their queen. And to require or ask, he asked to ask your students to do this because you don't have any time, I think is inappropriate, period. And it wouldn't matter to me whether it was a woman or a man having these young girls take out the braids. It wouldn't have mattered to me. It's just, to me, wrong. But thank you for your call, Vevelin. Janelle in New Jersey, welcome to the Karen Hunter Show. You're on with Kwame Alexander.
Hi, Karen. How are you all today?
We're great.
Good. So as an educator, I do think that firing him would be quite harsh. I definitely think he needs to be reprimanded. I think a reprimand is necessary. However, understanding how firing can ruin your educational career for a lifetime, he may never, ever be able to get another job again. I think that's the challenging aspect. He looks to be like he's a young teacher, a young educator, so this may be a learning opportunity for him. So I agree with you in the fact that he definitely needs to be reprimanded, but firing may be a little harsh. I also agree that boundaries are vital. I'm even working in schools myself. Sometimes students come up to you, hey, bruh, nah, what's good? No, Dr. Apoku, please. Address me properly, address me appropriately. I'll build that relationship with you, but there's definitely a boundary between the two of us. But I definitely think he needs a reprimand. Firing, not quite sure. What he did was absolutely inappropriate, unacceptable. But I think this may also be an opportunity for him to learn as a young brother in the field.
But after he was reprimanded, he came back and posted again afterwards. 5 minutes and 49-second video of why it was wrong. But let me ask you, Dr. Apoku, is that it? Apoku, Dr. Apoku. Would you have your students take your braids out?
I have braids in my hair right now, and it's about an inch of new growth, an inch. And I'm not having any students take my hair out. I will be taking it out over Memorial
Why isn't
weekend.
that on the table? If it's okay, why wouldn't you do that?
It's absolutely inappropriate. I'm not allowing a child. Number one, I agree with you in terms of hair being sacred. I don't let anyone just play around in my hair. But additionally, I don't think it's appropriate for me to waste their time when they're supposed to be there learning, reading, writing, and arithmetic, whatever it may be. They have a job to do while they're there, and I have a job to do. And neither part of our job descriptions includes braiding my hair. We are not at a cosmetology school. I don't work in a cosmetology building. So there's no need for anybody to take my hair out. So I definitely think
Okay.
So I have a different understanding. But he was right. He was absolutely wrong.
So why are we leaving space? Because not everyone needs to be a teacher. I always say, not everyone needs to be a doctor. Not everyone needs to be a teacher. Not everyone. These are, to me, the most sacred jobs society can have. Teacher, doctor, nurse, because you are involved with people. And you have to serve and help, and you're there to heal on so many levels, right? Heal, teach, inform. So, yeah, maybe he's not equipped. And the fact that he came back with a video afterwards crying and not accepting responsibility, I don't think he should be a teacher. He doesn't know what he did that was wrong.
Dr. Opoku makes a good point in that this is a teachable moment, that perhaps there's some training, there's some counseling, there's some education that he can be required to pursue that will help him understand the error of his ways, that ultimately, that he could come out on the other side of this being a much better, much more informed teacher. Perhaps we ought to extend some grace.
Oh, you and this grace thing.
Hey.
No, I appreciate grace, actually. I ask for it all the time. Yep. I do. And I think it's important. But that's after, like, somebody came, I was saying Joe Madison's shoes can't be filled. And someone said that even the shoe filling thing is a bad concept. Like, why are we filling people's shoes instead of being unique, singular individuals who are coming into a space, maybe passing batons and torches or what have you? And I was like, you know what, you're right. We just use language because it's easy language that we all repeat. Mm-hmm. But, finding the right phraseology is important. And I'm somebody that should be more mindful. So I was like, thank you. Do you know what I'm saying? Yep. So then you get grace when you accept the responsibility of the things that you do and say.
Hey, look, that all sounds great. And I agree with you in theory and for the most part in practice. And then I think back on my 3 years at Virginia Tech where I called Nikki Giovanni every name in the book that I could think of to let her know I ain't like her, didn't appreciate anything she did, didn't think that she was of value. Like, I just went in for 3 straight years. And when and now,
did she know that you said these things?
Nikki and I are
I know. I'm saying, did you say these to her face? I don't think you said it to her face, Kwame Alexander.
I didn't say it to her. I mean, there were a couple conversations where we talked face to face, and it was obvious when you look at who I was in that moment during that time. Conventional wisdom, any logical person, Karen, would have said, this Negro is trouble. He is going nowhere. She didn't say that. She somehow extended some grace, stuck with me, and look what happened.
But you were her student. You were not the teacher. You were not in a position of authority engaging. Had she cussed you out or whatever, then that's the relationship right now. This young man is not, he is in authority in that classroom, and there's a different responsibility on somebody when you are in authority over other people's children. So this is not a one-to-one comparison, sir.
I'm saying, I agree with you. All I'm suggesting is she should have been done with me, and she wasn't.
But that's the grace that she's going to have. No, but that's the grace she's going to have as an educator. That's the beauty of where she is in that position. He's in that position, and he's got these kids unbraiding his hair. different.
Hey, it's hard to defend him. I can't defend him.
Then don't tell him he should sit down somewhere and find another job. Tech is open. You probably make more money, but you shouldn't be around people's children if number one, you're not even going to accept responsibility for the wrong behavior that you demonstrated. You crying and saying it's unfair, but not saying, yeah, I shouldn't have these young people in my hair like that. And the fact that he doesn't know that tells me he doesn't belong in a classroom with children, period. I'm just going to keep that where it is and put him on desk duty.